Divya Deshmukh is a 17-year-old WGM from India, and Hans Niemann is a 19-year-old from USA who is a GM and has been in the headlines all over the world thanks to Magnus Carlsen. What happened when they met each other for the first time over the board? Divya plays e4, Hans Niemann plays the Sicilian. Divya goes for knight f3, d6, and d4. Takes, takes, knight f6 and knight c3. And we have the Najdorf variation of the Sicilian with a6. Divya goes for bishop e3 and now Hans plays e5, knight f3, bishop e7 and bishop c4. This is the main move of the Najdorf, bishop c4, castles and queen e2. Pawn b5, bishop goes to d5. So here the more common option is both bishop d5 and bishop b3. Both are equally playable. Divya goes for bishop d5 and after takes, she has a knight on the weak d5 square, the light square weakness on d5. It's occupied by a knight. Bishop b7 and bishop b6. So Divya goes in with this, with the bishop and the knight. But what does Hans have in mind? Because the knight is going to land on c7, isn't it? So is this the best option? Yeah, bishop b6, queen d7. Hans has a plan. He gives up the exchange with queen c6, allowing knight takes rook, bishop takes, and he shows Divya that the bishop can be worth a rook sometimes on the long diagonal. The Najdor bishop shows its power. Both of the pieces are looking at e4, and you can't really defend it that easily. Bishop is hanging. The bishop went to a7, knight d7. Now castles. If you try and defend it so badly, then you will lose the c2 pawn. So anyway, black will get compensation. And black gets compensation after queen b7, bishop moves, and queen takes pawn. Rook d1. So what does black have for the exchange down? For the exchange sacrifice? He's got one pawn and those two pawns in the center and coupled with his bishop and queen on the long diagonal. And the ideas of f5 in the air. That gives enough compensation for black. Black is actually better here because now f5. Queen went to d3. Hans Niemann says no exchanges. Queen g4. Knight e1, allowing f4, but Divya has planned f3. Now queen went to h5. The better option was queen e6 to avoid any checks on the diagonal and keeping the queen active, but he goes for h5. Bishop f2 and e4. Again, there was d5, a slightly more useful way to slow but more thorough way to go with the pawn pushes. Okay, e4 takes and knight e5. That was his plan. But queen b3 check, king moves, and queen e6. It suddenly become a little uncomfortable for Hans Niemann. Hans Niemann goes queen e8, and now knight f3. There was rook d4 in this position. Basically, you're saying that you can't take my pawn that easily. And there is also the idea of rook takes pawn, giving back the exchange with equal material. Because black's pieces are not that well placed. Right? But Divya goes for knight f3, and after rook f6, queen back, he just takes the pawn. Now black is again better because black has got a nice bishop, the rook is good, and the pawn is also able to run forward at the right time. Knight takes knight, pawn takes only helps Hans because now this is a pass pawn. Rook e1. Okay, so Divya probably missed that after queen a8, the bishop will just stay there. The bishop had moved, then she would take the pawn. But now it's uncomfortable because how do you defend g2? You can play queen h3, but then black just goes h6 and quietly plays g5, g4, or rook g6, and the pressure continues on g2. So Divya decides to give back the exchange. And after queen takes rook e1, queen f5, it's a pawn up for Hans. And that too a nice pass pawn. Queen takes c2, rook takes e5. It was possible for Hans to just defend his pawn, but he decided it's too passive. Queen takes, rook takes, now bishop f8. Queen d8. Hans has calculated everything ahead because now he just plays f3. He doesn't mind that the rook is going to come down to attack his bishop. f3, and after rook e8, just queen check. Rook blocks, queen b2. And after h3, pawn takes d2. So if you go back to e1, again check and the a2 pawn will also fall. And then black will come and defend and black will be up by a lot of pawns. So pawn h3 and now f takes g2. Bishop d4 attacking the queen and rook, but rook f1. So it's all in Hans Niemann's grip. Rook takes and pawn takes, and after this, queen b1 check, Divya resigned, because she's basically down by two pawns, and this pawn will also fall with check. That means she'll be down by 3 pawns in a queen and bishop endgame, and the queen will just come and defend. King will come and queen f7, and everything is great. So it was a nice little lesson there given by Hans Niemann about the power of the Najdorf bishop to WGM Divya Deshmukh. And this game is from the Baku Open 2023, a Swiss tournament, 9 rounds where a lot of top players are playing.